Yahoo!
Yo, hello,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Angelo. Hello, how are
How
we?
we? I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm good. Tuesday night, good night to be sitting around and chatting and drinking some spirits, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now I hear that there might be some boomers coming my way, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, I don't lose
Uh
power
oh,
during this. Yeah,
got
that
a
would
little
be bad.
weather on the East Coast.
Apparently, I don't know. I got a weather alert, but we'll see what happens. But
Yeah,
in the meantime, we got what do we got tonight? We got some
we have a
special whiskeys.
special guest. We have a special guest with some special whiskeys and let the cat out of the bag. Some special rums as well, right?
Excellent. All right. Well, wait. Before we do that, let's roll our quick intro.
Boom.
Let's do ours. Welcome to the murder table. Cheers. Salud. Oh, cheers.
Oh, cheers.
Salud. Sir,
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Sludge. A caipirinha.
Like Martinelli, but as you said, with a kick.
We do a little swirl.
Or Zat.
Or zot. Appetizer?
Appetizer.
Appetizer. That makes me sad, but you know what makes me happy? Whiskey.
Cacao.
Cacao.
It's everything I thought would be and less smelling.
We are on live, aren't we?
Yes, we are. We are live.
We are. We are live.
Yeah.
And where are people watching us tonight?
We're on YouTube. We are on the Facebook page. And if it's still alive, this thing says Periscope's still around, but I went on
Is that a
Periscope. But yeah, and apparently I don't know if it is or it's not,
It
but
was.
I don't know.
You can always go to the Booze Dancing website too.
That's true.
BoozeDancing.com.
That's also there, but you can't really interact there. So if you happen
No.
to be on Facebook and the YouTube, by all means, ask questions, and our special guest will answer them.
Pop them in the chat, and we'll be happy to ask our guest what he thinks of your silly question. We like silly questions. We just don't
do.
like silly answers.
We do.
Right.
So who's our guest?
So tonight we are very, very lucky to have Chris Uhde, the Vice President of ImpEx Beverages. And our friends at ImpEx have been so nice to us over the years. And tonight they're actually allowing Chris out of his big office that overlooks the valley here in Southern California, and come talk to us about something very special and new that ImpEx is bringing to market.
Silly man. He's going to talk to us?
I don't know why.
I
have
don't
no
know
idea.
either. Do you know anything?
He must have nothing else to do. Usually he's playing soccer, but maybe not tonight.
That's all right. You need a break. You gotta nurse.
You need a break from that soccer playing and that 4-year-old playing in the house.
You got to rest those muscles. You got to
That's right,
rejuvenate.
that's right.
And you know what's a good
Yes.
rejuvenating tool? Booze.
Oh yes, spirits.
Booze.
We love them.
It is the first medicine after all.
It really is. Yes.
All right.
Get a-
Well, let's
get a
not
prescription for that.
delay. Let's not
No
dilly or
dilly-dally?
down. No more dilly. No more dally. Why don't we do a
Anti-dally
little
dilly.
quick intro about what's going to happen tonight, and we're going to bring Chris in.
Boom. Let's go.
All right. Let's do it. Oi,
Chris Uhde.
Mr.
I never
Uhde.
get the hand right. Hey guys,
There you
how's
go.
it going?
Whiskey Redhead is in the house.
I see Sam has said hello as well, so I guess he's watching.
Oh, look at
virtually.
that. We have people chatting. That's Sam, your partner. Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm well. A couple things to clarify real quick. One is, believe it or not, I do not have an office in my warehouse. I have a full open door policy, so I work in my desk is in I guess the bullpen area, is right as you come in, along with where everybody else sits.
Wow, very egalitarian of you. That's awesome.
Yeah, because basically, if I go to my office, I can't get anything done because it's not more than 30 seconds before I got to ask someone for help.
Have you guys been in the premises? Or are you guys working from home a lot? Or
So because of the distribution operations, we've continued throughout the entire pandemic. So I've been going to the office nonstop. There was a little bit like in March and April that I was kind of shifting because I was trying to keep us as separated as possible. But now that vaccine is out and now that we kind of have our heads wrapped around how it works, I go in the office almost every day. Sam's like, but I have a pool. That's right. There is a. I do have a pool.
Well, you live in a very warm area of Southern California, so
Yes.
very warm. Now, I should put my cards on the table. Chris and I have been friends for about 10 years. Chris started was one of the what you started the Southern California Whiskey Club, I believe, right, Chris?
Yep.
And I'm a full-fledged member of that, and
A card carrying
trying to
member?
carry on the card. There are no cards, but if we had cards, we would carry them. Correct. So Chris and I, we go back a little bit. So Chris, let's talk about why we're here tonight. So talk about this new, well, let's step up back. Talk about ImpEx, talk about your partner, Sam, and kind of the philosophy of what ImpEx wants to do as a importer and on the distribution side, GAVS. What's the philosophy in terms of spirits?
So ImpEx is, so first let's talk about Sam, right? So Sam's kind of famous in the whiskey world. He's a keeper of the quake, and he's just a phenomenal boss. I started out working with him. He's still my boss at JVS, actually. So he started out as my boss, and he's now my business partner with ImpEx. And he is probably the single most stand-up guy you will ever meet as far as the booze industry goes. If he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it, no matter how many times I might try to convince him not to do it. Right? Like his word is bond. And ImpEx is. And I guess I'll take you through the history a little bit, right? So I started working for Sam back in 2007, and I started working for ImpEx in 2008, and then it just kind of grew into where I became partner in 2018. And what ImpEx is it's just basically an importer of really fine spirits. So it started out with a single whiskey, the Isle of Skye, which was a blended whiskey, and then it started getting into independent bottlings, and then those would kind of come and go, and then we started getting distilleries, and now we've kind of blossomed into a little bit of a more of a Scotch whiskey house, but also a whiskey from Japan house and some world whiskeys, and we've dipped our toe into the mezcal pool and the rum pool as well. So it's really, we're slowly starting to branch out beyond whiskey and into other spirits, but the core, the essence of the company is always the same, and that's just sell really, really good booze and keep it simple, right? Like we're not into $6 a bottle white wine or something like that. Not to say there's anything wrong with it, but it's just not part of our business model.
That's I think a well stated philosophy. Make it simple, make it good, and you guys are well known, and Sam of course is, and you are too, as people that know spirits, especially whiskey. So let's talk about this new ImpEx Collection. So where does this brainchild come from?
So the ImpEx Collection came from its. I guess the best way to put it is that we've always sold other brands, and other brands are great, and we will always sell other brands, and we like. Sometimes you just kind of see a little bit of a hole here or there, right? Like you're maybe looking for something from one of your suppliers, and it's they're bringing you great stuff, but it's not comprehensive to cover everything. And so, you have brands come and you have brands go, and you kind of look at it and you're like, we've been doing this long enough, and we've got enough experience in it. Why not put our name on something and do something for ourselves that just complements everything else that we're already doing? Because we believe that a rising tide carries all ships, and we believe that there's a way to cross promote the other brands that we carry by having different releases, like under the ImpEx Collection label, or doing like an ImpEx Evolution series, which we've done with Kilhoma before. There's just a way to kind of like stay in the whiskey drinker's mind's eye, so that it's promotion, and it's always good, and it's just a way to get more better booze out there to everyone. So it's really as simple as that.
So before we get too nerdy, we should drink something.
We should. So I have a request there, because we're going to start with whiskey and we're going to go to rum. But I did ask you guys to have 3 glasses, and so if you could real quick pour both rums and just take a really fast sip, and don't think about it too much. Just record what you taste, and then we're going to come back to them. So
We're not doing shots, are we?
you can do shots. I'm going to do a shot. I do 2 shots.
No,
Only
we
the
don't
rum
do
now.
shots around here.
We're just
We're
doing the
classy.
rum, right?
You know, I showed up to a team meeting one time with a Bud Light, and everyone just lost their mind.
All right, here
You
goes the
could do
Clarendon.
better. You could do better than
Can
a
we
Bud Light.
smell? Are we smelling or are we just
Could
drinking?
have, yeah. Go ahead, nose and have a quick sip.
Wow, they got a big nose on both of them.
They do. So we'll talk about these later, but just nose them and have a quick sip. And just record in your head what you taste. I want to focus on the whiskeys first, but I want you to set here because it's relevant. Because by the time we get done with the whiskeys, these are going to get decant and they're going to taste completely different. And these rums, I really think need to sit in a glass for a little bit to.
No, they're both Jamaican rums, correct? Or no?
Yes, they are. They are.
Okay.
But Angelo, you're getting me talking about rum, and we said we were going to do that for last.
No, I was just wondering. I was just curious.
Yeah, both
Oof.
Jamaican rums. Tropical.
So-
Big. Big.
So before we jump into the whiskey,
All right.
so this is ImpEx's jump into independent bottling, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of independent bottlers, Chris.
And they are all
How
great.
do you? And there's some big names that have been doing it for a very long time. This is like jump into F1 and you've never done that before.
Never
There's a
been
lot
on
of
a car.
racers out there, right?
You got to start in a car.
So how do you? We talked about this a little bit earlier. How do you kind of jump in and feel like you can be different to the other brands that are out there that are doing independent bottlings?
So all of the other independent bottlers are awesome at what they do, and they all have their house styles, and it's perfect. What we bring to the table is a little bit of a different experience in the fact that, one, Sam's been in the industry since '98. I think he's been selling whiskey since probably that same time. I got into the industry in 2000. I mean, I've been drinking since I was 15, but I got into the industry on a professional level where I actually got to take checks home.
On his resume, actually.
Yeah, it's a good thing your 4-year-old can't hear this.
Yeah, he'll be home in a
Hokkaido's
minute.
running
You guys will
around
hear him.
here.
So I've been in it since 2007, and like my dive into it was selling independent bottlings of whiskey, and that's what I've been doing it for 14 years now, nonstop, every day of my life. Sam's done it for much longer, and then in addition to that, as Aaron, as you know, I'm in a bunch of different clubs, and I've had the good fortune of being able to try thousands of whiskeys, and Sam's had the same. Where we haven't just been in it to make money. We've been in it as enthusiasts as well. We both have if you ever do a thing with Sam, you'll see his collection behind him. It's this beautiful mountain of bottles. Mine, because of a 4-year-old, have to be kept in a different area. But
Higher.
and higher. That's right. But having tried thousands of whiskeys going back into the 1800s and having sold whiskey for 14 years, we kind of get where the market is. We get where things can go. We get I like to think that we just have a well-rounded, large amount of experience within whiskey. And so we can just, when something good comes across our plate, if it's not claimed and we can claim it, then why not, right? And why we think we can be successful at it. Remember, it's a lot of what we're doing is single cask. We do have some vatting of casks coming in later on this year or maybe early next year. But, it's 300 bottles, 400 bottles. We imagine that after being in the industry for as long as we have 300 or 400 people that trust us to give them something really good in a bottle. So why not, right? And it's a fun expansion, to do a tasting and you have, if you have a Glenelgan from us or a Kalila from us and a Kalila from SMOS and a Kalila from Single Cask Nation and a Kalila from all the other independent bottlers, that's a fun time to see how they all are the same and how they're a little bit different.
Single casks are just generally fun because there's an exclusivity to it, right? It's a limited number. When you, like you just said, that when you get one of those 200 or 300 bottles, you feel a bit special, right? It's really, as a buyer, as a drinker, it is neat to see, even on a label, even on a menu in a really nice bar, and you can get a sip from that one bottle that there was only a couple hundred bottles of, or 300 bottles. It feels special. And maybe that heightens the experience a bit.
I mean,
I
the
have-
only downside is you can't recreate it once it's gone. But
But
That's-
that's okay too.
So Angelo, you nailed it, right? Like I have found that like single casks have given me a whole range of emotions. It starts
Totally.
out by like curiosity, and then it's like sheer joy, and then as I get to the end of it, it's regret for not having bought another one because I know it's gone by now. And then every now and again, it's that surprise when you find yourself in a different state and there's still a bottle sitting there on the shelf that's collected dust, and you're like, oh yeah. And then you get to go through the whole thing again. Oh no, and then you have to go through the anticipation of opening it, and you have to go through the worry of whether or not you should open it now or should you save it for 5 years from now. Like you can turn it into a whole telenovela, just like
Yes,
one
most
bottle.
definitely. Yes. And depressing if you keep the empty bottle and you look at it and, oh, I remember that.
I have empty bottles. No.
Me too. Me too. So where are we going to jump in on whiskey? What's our first one?
Let's go with the Orkney 21 year. Let's just knock it out of the park with number one. So 2 distilleries on Orkney, right? Back in 1999, the southern one was not distilling, so this is made at the other one. And so I'll let you guys say what it is because I don't want to say what it is, but
Well, we don't have to say. I think most people know. Starts
Yeah.
with a
starts with
an
a H and ends with a Highland Park.
K.
Yeah,
I'm glad you didn't say HP. It's not Hewlett Packard. We went through this before, didn't we?
simply by
not a
process of
company.
elimination, you can figure out where it is, right? But this particular whiskey, it is so again, we wanted to put our best foot forward as our first step into it, and the people that helped us get these casks definitely understood that, and they helped us find some of the best casks there were. And especially in this one, it has all of the things that I love about Northern Orkney whiskeys. And that is, it's got that nice saline, it's got that nice malt quality, and then you get the fruit pop on the finish.
What's the APV on this? Oh, this is 50. Okay.
50.8.
Okay. So it's
Oh,
just breaking
mouth
into
to
our
mouth is
favorite category, Aaron.
Whiskey with a 5.
Yes. This is the lower tier of the whiskey with a 5.
Is that
We
right? You
talked-
guys like the whiskey to start with a 5?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Or
It's just-
6.
I think it's like a
Uh,
running joke. Whether it's funny or not, I don't know. But I'm amused.
You know, I
well-
should add that our friend Josh Peters, Chris and I were at a birthday party on Saturday night for our friend Michael Reese, and our friend Josh Peters, the whiskey jug, brought a bourbon that was a whiskey with a 7.
Oh yeah, you showed me a
And
picture of that.
the Bowman, it was what's that name? A Bowman, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bourbon.
Yeah.
Virginia
And my
bourbon.
wife loved it. That's like fuel. That's like gasoline. What are you doing?
It was a
Did you
good
say Abe
bottle.
Froman?
It was.
Was it Abe Froman? The sausage
It
king of
was not
Chicago?
Froman. It was A Bowman. So, okay. I want to talk. Well, let me preface this by saying we have talked to Jason and Joshua from our friends from Single Cast Nation many, many times over the years. And they have a philosophy on how they go through cask samples and pick something. And I know one of their big selling points is mouthfeel. It needs to have the right mouthfeel. So when you and Sam, I'm assuming you and Sam are the primary testing panel on this stuff. What are you guys looking for when you're picking out this Orkney or any of these?
So I would start by further explaining the partnership between myself and Sam, because the way that we harmonize together is a little bit different in general. So Sam is very detail oriented, very organized, and very just knocks things very straight and gets it done and assassinates. And I'm a little bit more of a little bit more goofy, or a little bit more chaotic, if you will. Like my nickname at my warehouse is Tornado, because everything's nice and clean, and then when I leave, it looks like a tornado ran through it. And so we harmonize a little bit different in that we look at things in different lights, and then when we find things that fit together, then we know we have something, while at the same time we both trust each other to, yes, we tasted this together and we immediately thought that we should bottle it, but there's also stuff that maybe Sam will try and he's like, we should bottle it, and I have no doubt. I'm like, cool. And the same thing where he goes, if I say we need to bottle this, he goes, cool. There's like, we've been working together so long that we have that part of it dialed in. And as far as what we're looking for, I can't speak to what he is always looking for from it, but I imagine it's the same thing I am, where it's not limiting on any level. It just has to be really good for what it is, right? It's more of we're not trying to do impressionistic paintings. We're trying to create a museum of different like flavor profiles and of booze, if that makes sense. So something might have a massive amount of umami in it. Some stuff just might be incredibly balanced. Some things might be like it's turned to the 11s, right? It's like an amp that's just cranked up and ready to rock. Like it's just within that particular expression. If it shines the way it needs to, then it qualifies. So,
but you also have to think about who's going to be drinking it. You're not buying 300 bottles for yourself. You're buying 300 bottles for the mass market. So you have to be thinking about whether this can sell, correct? And be accepted and liked by your customer.
Yeah. So as far as that goes, I view it as being more inclusive, if that makes sense, right? Because you can you don't like the same 300 people don't have to buy every bottle. It's wonderful that they do, and I'm happy to get drunk as piss with them on a Friday night on the porch if they want to hang out. Like it's a great time, but at the same time, like a little bit of something for everyone. So, by definition, the reason why whiskey is as great as it is because there's not just one. Like it's like a Skittles rainbow of flavors as far as what whiskey can be, even within just different categories. If you try rye versus bourbon versus malt versus koji, they're all so different from each other within the umbrella of whiskey. So I'm of the opinion, and Sam might be different, right? But I think that he would agree with me that don't exclude something that is awesome simply because it's not necessarily in a stylistic. It doesn't fit a stylistic profile. If that makes sense.
No, it does. Or as our friend Mike would say, if you tell me you don't like a whiskey, well, maybe you're just drinking the wrong whiskey.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's hundreds more to choose from. So, I mean, it's like anything. You just have to find what fits or what kind of piques your interest.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Like take the Highland Park. What do you get from the Highland Park? It's got a little bit more peat than a lot of other Highland Parks from the same era, if that makes sense. A little more peat on the back end, but it still has a fruit pop, and on the front, it's got a little bit of lemongrass and a little bit of a grassy flavor. And Highland Park can kind of be the exact opposite of that, if that makes sense. Sometimes Highland Park can be peat on the mid palate with like a very sweet malt, and then maybe no fruit on the finish or ash on the finish. Whereas this is more of a vibrant, punchy one.
I got like a little like almost like a peach, like almost like a peach Melba kind of on the back.
Yeah.
But it starts off like kind of peppery.
Now, going back to Aaron's initial question, you can definitely say that if I'm involved, I have my druthers, and I do love my fruit finishes on whiskey. So if it's got a fruit pop, I definitely tend to rank it higher than some other things. But yeah,
when you're looking for Orkneys, let's just say Orkneys. We're not going to get to the cask, the process yet, but are you trying to find what you perceive as what a Northern Orkney whiskey should be, or is it really simply, is it good or not? So
it's a loaded question and here I will bring up a mutual friend of ours, Elijah, because what he knows to be a Northern Orkney whiskey is not going to be what I know to be a Northern Orkney whiskey. And that's simply because I got 20 years on it, right? So I know Northern Orkney whiskeys from a
not years, but other things.
Yeah, from a very specific point of view, and this is kind of reflective of that. Like if you look at Northern Orkney whiskeys that were distilled in the 70s, they all had that fruit pop finish to them, and they had like that big peat on the back end. And if you look at some of the stuff that is more recent, it's more ashy, and it's more of a drier smoke peat, and it's a little bit more malt driven. So I wouldn't say that when we're ever looking for a stylistic, something that's going to reflect what people already know about it. Again, it's just whether or not it's awesome. This happens to fit that profile, and I would be lying if I said that it didn't help to contribute to us saying, yeah, of course this is great, because subconsciously I'm already it already gives me feelings of nostalgia from when I used to be able to afford Northern Orkney whiskeys from the 70s. So so I guess a little bit of both, Aaron, if that makes sense. But I like to think I'm not stuck on that, but
well,
it definitely helps.
It would be hard, I think. I mean, I guess you guys have been doing this for long enough that it would be hard not to feel like your choices are a bit biased by your own perception of what, in this case, a Northern Orkney was in 21 years ago or whatever, 21 years ago or in the 90s. And you kind of have that preconceived notion of what you're looking for a little bit, but trying to get away from that too, because you're not, you don't want to be biased that you'd skip something over as well. That's great. That'd be really good. You want to push it aside.
So yeah, I agree with that 100%. I guess subconsciously you're going to naturally be biased, but then you're trying to, cognitively not be biased. But then again, this one, I would say there's a little bit of bias in there.
So when you and Sam were coming up with this concept, by the way, when did you guys think about this? When did this idea come?
I want to say we started, it went on the drawing board in, I want to say 2017, 2018. Like it's been a while.
So it took 4 years to get this thing rolling?
There is, to be honest, Sam covered a lot of hurdles that I would not have been able to cover as far as some of the dry goods go and the packaging side of it and getting it all together. So I think we started talking about it in late 2017. I want to say the name we finally settled on a name in 2018, and we had already had stock at that point. So
okay.
So yeah.
So the process really started quite a while ago.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So when you were sitting and talking about this wonderful idea 4 years ago on your card table in your warehouse,
in my office.
Office. Did you think about distilleries that you really wanted to highlight and choose, or was it whatever we can find that's great?
Well, when you're talking about this, I imagine every independent bottler that has started post 2008 has said, "Man, we need to find a Port Ellen." Like it's one of those. We got to get a Brora, yeah. But it's not feasible. So you quickly just make the decision that what is the end goal here, and the end goal is the end goal is pretty simple, right? Like we are proud of the ImpEx Beverages company. We're proud of our name, and we want everything to be bottled to be, to reflect the pride that we have in that, while at the same time we want to be respectful to anything that we bottle and make sure that anything we bottle is respectful to what it is, to who made it, right? So, yeah. So like if we're bottling a Kalila, we want to pay respect to Kalila to show that Kalila is an awesome distillery. Surprise! Hey, Keitel. The kids.
The boss is home.
The boss is home. Go to your office.
Go to your card table. Should we go to number 2?
Yeah, let's do it. Did you guys finish number 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
That's really good.
It's spectacular. It's delicious.
Hey, Chris, quick question though. And I know we've talked to people about this stuff before, but do you go through a broker or do you go directly to the distillery?
A little of both, right? So some of them would come straight from a distillery. It all depends.
Right.
It really all depends. And
I would think if there's a Kilhoman in your future, you're kind of making a call and saying, "Hey, what do you got laying around?"
People.
Ironically enough, I don't think Anthony sells to any independent bottlers. So if there is a Kilhoman in our future, it probably came from a broker.
Okay.
Wasn't the Single Cask Nation one the last one?
Yeah, that was the 4-year-old from that was 2017, I think, right? Or 2016.
No, I think it was like. Maybe I thought it was
the years all blur together. I guess it would be older than
that. They do.
I know I was thinner then.
Well,
I don't want to talk about weight. Don't talk about weight. Do not talk about weight.
Let's not do that. So Angelo makes an interesting point. I mean, there's a romantic side to. I think there's a perception that there's a romantic side of all this single cast stuff, where Chris is like wandering through a warehouse in Scotland, and he's tapping on each barrel, and Sam is like listening for something. What is that? I hear this is the one. This is the one. But it's not like that, is it? Is it? Not at all. It's not like picking a watermelon at Whole Foods, is it?
So to be fair, most of it is in glass vials, and you try it, and it's already been shipped in. But Sam and I have together wandered a warehouse in Scotland, cracking open barrels. We wandered a few of them in Scotland, cracking open barrels and trying stuff. But that was for something else. But we've definitely done that together, and you know, I imagine that it will happen again. But truth be told, most of it's like because warehouses are stored all over the place, right? So you have the sample pulled and it's shipped in, and then you try it that way.
Yeah.
And now post-pandemic, everything's got to be mailed in anyways. So
that's right. So talked about the Kalila.
So the Kalila, I got kind of drunk off this the other night. I really dig it. I really like it because it's a thick Kalila, if that makes sense. Like it's got a little bit of it's got that nice little bit of tar, like a little bit of earth tar, big smoke peat.
Now, you know, I'm going to repeat myself. I probably said this about 1,000 times, but the stuff that comes out of the distillery, just the distillery releases versus the independents with Kalila, there's no comparison. There just really isn't. Like, because I've had 12, like the regular was the 12, is that the standard edition? And it's fine. But it doesn't like, ooh, well, I got to go get more, you know?
So I talked to a guy. I was drinking with a guy in Japan named Hideo Yamaoka. I think is how you say his last name. And he's the guy he's famous in Japan for his palate of whiskey. And I actually asked him about that. This is golly days. This is 10 years ago. And he said it's all about the way it's bottled. He goes, if you think about it, like what makes single cask whiskeys or even cask strength whiskeys so great is that they're just bottling it, and then like they're not messing with it. He's like, how many times have you gone to Scotland and really had a bad cask? You guys have done this. Like when you taste cask samples in the back of a warehouse, you're like, man, this is great.
Cry. I'm leaving. I'm gonna cry for a little bit.
Yes.
We're like, this is great. This is also great. This is also great. And you'll go to any distillery in Scotland and you'll open one cask after the next, after the next, after the next, and they will all be great. Maybe you'll find one that's okay. Very rarely, if ever, you'll find one that's bad because usually they've identified it and they've already taken steps to correct whatever the issue is, whether it needs to be recast or just sold off for blending or whatever they're going to do. But every cask is great. So where does that drop off happen? And it's just got to happen in the bottling, right? So as long as you're not messing too much with the bottling, you're kind of there. And that might be what you're talking about, Angelo, where when you start to chill filter something and when you start to dilute it and then bottle it up that way, maybe it's still great, but maybe at the same time it's diminishing just a little bit from the potential that it could be on its own. Or maybe the sum isn't always equal to the individuals, right?
Going back to the mouthfeel, this one's nice and thick. This one's got some viscosity to it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so to talk about the difference between the two, right? So the Orkney 21 year is a little bit lighter on the palate, and it's got that peat on the back end and the fruit on the back end and the salinity and the malt up front. This is just like grabbing a big mouthful of barley and just gnawing on it with some heavy peat complementing it, and you still get a little bit of powdered sugar and vanilla.
Right. Which is nice on the back end, because
go ahead, Ange.
Well, like Mike. Mike was never an Isla fan, but it's like you got to push past that peat. Once you get beyond it, there's more to it than just the smoke. I mean, the smoke draws me in, but then once you get past the smoke, there's a lot more, stuff going on. Whether it's fruit, if it was like a wine cask, like a port or you get this vanilla and sugar. I guess it was a bourbon cask.
I think so. To be honest, I can't remember. And so you guys know, I got little minis just like you guys, because I need to go buy another bottle, I suppose. Yeah, but the other thing that this Kalila gives you is like I mean, Aaron. So Aaron, it's been a few seconds since you've had a sip. What do you taste now? It's got a really long finish to it, and it kind of
It has
sticks.
it's funny. I thought the same thing when Angelo said the mouthfeel. The mouthfeel sticks, and it sticks in the finish too. It just kind of coats your throat and your mouth, and that's kind of unique. And I'm not sure I remember that too much from all Kalelas. With I have to say, if somebody had to put a gun to my head and say pick your favorite distillery, it would be this one. If I had to pick one.
Wow.
By far. And maybe it's because of all the IBs that I've had over the years and in different versions. And I agree with you, Ange, that the distillery releases are never up to the IB quality. It seems like.
Not for this one. No, for this, and same with Bowmore. I feel the same way about, Bowmore's sort of the same thing. There's a few good ones. Those
right.
limited ones like that, our buddy Lee had, like the Devil's Cask and all that. But you can't get those in a normal shop. So, I'm just talking about the standard.
Oh, Sam chimed in. It's a Hogshead.
There you go.
That just means 250-liter cask. So it could be a bourbon Hogshead or a refill sherry.
Now, and you mentioned our friend Lee Zero out here in California. Lee and I have gone back and forth over the years because I think he might even say that Caol is his favorite distillery as well. But we have different philosophies. I like a younger one. So this is kind of on the high end of the age for me. I like maybe 7 to 12 in there somewhere, right? So you get the punch of the peat.
Right. You want it more punchy and a little more vibrant.
I want that punch. And you get all that sweet, but you still get all that sweetness.
Right.
Lee, on the other hand, likes the old stuff. He likes 20-year-old and older, where the peat really mellows out. It's really on the back end of it, but you still have that sweetness. It's almost like they're two different whiskeys. And I guess you could say that with anything that's an old whatever versus a young whatever. They're almost two different kinds of animals. I think with Caol, it's really two different animals, and I like that. This is like right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, this is very good. I like this a lot.
And the cast strength part is nice too.
So I would just say por qué no los dos, right? Like have the young, have the old, have them all.
Sure. So go back to the cask sample choosing. So are you, and going with a broker, so you talk to a broker and you say, we're looking for X distillery, and then they send you what they have available? Or are you actually being more specific than that and saying, we're looking for this age range or this year, and maybe hogsheads or sherry casks? How does that process work without giving away trade secrets?
No, it's okay. That would be more as if you were talking directly with the distillery. You say that. You say, we're looking for kind of this with this and this. What have you got that fits it? And then they say, we got a few things. We'll send them your way. When you're working with a broker, you're like, what do you have that's available? Send me. It's
that simple.
Yeah, because we're more inclusive, right? So it starts by looking good on paper. And then if it looks good on paper and then it shows well in sample, it's pretty easy. So, because you never know, right? The second you start telling them and they don't contribute from their end, like they might have something absolutely kick ass that you didn't even think to ask for. And so you would miss out if you were limiting what was being offered to you.
So initially you have how many releases right now? How many different?
We're on one.
How many different distilleries right now?
Oh my gosh. You got to go back to that intro. I can't remember how many.
Well, the pictures looks like there's like 10 or 12 there, right? Okay. So you got 10 or 12 of those. How many samples did it take to get those 10 or 12 of each distillery? Did you go through 3 or 4 Caolas to get this one?
No. So actually with the Scotch whiskeys, I think there might have been one that was maybe for later, but with the Scotch whiskeys, it was only 10. Sam, really, with all the rums and everything, feels like it's more.
Oh, Travis is talking my language there. Give me the young Caolas all day. Thank you, Travis.
So, but with the Scotch whiskeys, it was they were all pretty much on point. It was kind of nice, if that makes sense. But keep in mind, like the 40-year blend, we bought it when it was 38, and we just sat on it till it was 40. And the same thing, I think the Glenelgan we took down when it was 12. So we sat on it for 2 years. So
So I was perusing.
we got lucky
the
that it
website.
stayed good.
I was perusing the website and I saw, you get the 40-year-old. I can't remember what it was, but then you go down to a 3-year-old from Milk and Honey.
Yeah, why not?
That's a range, right? And I
So
know
that would have been something where that's a phenomenal whiskey, by the way. But that's a direct example of Sam calling the distillery and saying, "Hey, we're looking for something like this. What have you got?" And Milk and Honey saying, "We're on board. This is what we got. Send out a few samples." And then he said, "That's the one." And then it's like, "Okay, perfect, perfect." And then when I cracked it open and had it, that's the one. Like there's I'm sorry if I'm gushing a little bit. It's just there's a nice level of comfort there when you can just relax, right?
But a 3-year-old Milk and Honey isn't this? You're talking. It's almost like a 10-year-old.
Yeah, they age in dog years for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a different. It's a whole different animal.
desert dog ears, actually.
Yeah.
This is just spectacular.
It is very good.
Delicious.
I like it a lot.
So Travis, you're going to love this one.
You will. And Travis, I'm going to say this just so everyone can give me that weird look. This Kalila on ice is really nice too. I'm just going to put that out there. I know everyone thinks I'm crazy.
It looks like our connection is bad. We can't hear Chris anymore. We'll have to have him on another night.
Would you do a highball with us?
So it's funny because then when I was talking to Hideo about the bottlings and what happens, he was drinking a cash strength Kalila highball at the bar.
Oh,
that
that's
I was talking to him.
hilarious.
So yeah, I am indiscriminate. So the way that I enjoy whiskey is, a bottle's a pretty big thing. It's 25 ounces, right? And at my advanced age and advanced stage of well, actually my liver's on point.
Liver failure.
Well, the thing is, like every time I get blood work done, they're like, your liver's awesome. You need to lose 20 pounds, but your liver's awesome. So but I like to try whiskeys as many different ways as possible. So yes, highball, absolutely. On ice, absolutely. Remember, I'm from Georgia originally, so I'm used to drinking beverages on ice. So
you don't put this in your sweet tea, do you?
No, the Kalila and sweet tea, no. But I will put some in coffee.
There we go, coffee.
All right, there you go.
But again, remember, it's more about being inclusive. So like neat's great. Neat. There's nothing wrong with drinking it neat and with a couple of drops of water. And I am of the opinion there's nothing wrong with absolutely smashing it to bits and seeing what if you just enjoy it a little bit differently. Because where I live, man, it gets to be 105, 110. So sometimes you want a whiskey, but at the same time you want a light whiskey for work. So,
And ice.
Yeah.
You gotta stay hydrated.
But the Kalila on ice is really nice, and
I might try that.
It's awesome, neat. But don't be shy to put it on 1 cube of ice. Get a big cube, let it dilute just a little bit. The temperature drops. The elegance of the Kalila, it gives it more of a cereal note, and it enhances it brings the peat into more like of a beast and less of a punch to the face, if that makes sense. Like it's more like a wrestle instead of a jab. And it is really nice.
See, I think if I was putting ice on it, it's like I get to that point, I want to make a cocktail out of it. I want to make it like an old fashioned.
Then go for it. The only problem is I can't make cocktails because I've been enabled my entire life. That's the only problem with being in the industry and having friends who are bartenders. They're making you drinks all the time and you never learn how to fish.
I got you.
So when we started this, 45 minutes ago, you had us pour the 2 rums that you sent us.
Oh yeah.
And there was I guess you must have some ulterior motive to why you did that. So let's get into the rums.
I did. Pick them up and smell them. Just smell them. You guys had that flash taste, right?
Yep.
So do you remember when you first tasted it? It was a little bit hot. It was kind of herbal, and it was just a little bit short, if that makes sense. Now that they've opened up, and you just take a couple of smells of it, the elegance really shines. And it's important because when Sam and I went to bottle these rums are tropical aged. They're not, most of the single cask rums that you've probably had in your entire life have been continental aged. There's one big company over there that owns a lot of casks, and they sell to a lot of folks, and that's how a lot of it's done. Tropical aged rums are not very common. And a few years ago, we had a friend who's friends with National Distillers of Jamaica, and the deal was made that we were able to buy 10 casks of tropical aged Jamaican rum. We got 7 Long Ponds and 3 Clarendons. And in this first round, we bottled a 15-year Long Pond, a 13-year Long Pond, and a 13-year Clarendon. Now, they have been sitting in California for about a year because we had to get them bottled here. They were shipped in cask here. And the evaporation rate where they are in California is anywhere from 10 to 15%. So it is brutal. But these rums came in at 71.9% alcohol by volume from the distillery. One was at 73. And, there was a lot of discussion about whether to bottle them as they were or to just try to make them the best they could be. And here I will be unapologetic and completely appreciative. So the support that I have from Sam on this side is just amazing because he comes from the school of cask strength. Like, that's what we do. And the support on this, when I said, I think that these need to be brought down, he didn't even question it. He goes, go for it. And so basically, as you guys may or may not know, I've got a history in messing around with whiskeys and trying to blend them together and release them and just have fun with it. And so with these, it was like a 2-month process of getting them down to all these different ABVs to see where they shine the most. And the 2 things I learned when doing it was, the mid-50s, low to mid-50s low to mid-50s at the time was where these were really banging. So that's where we decided to bottle them at. And
you take a small portion out of the cask and just experiment that way?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
I mean, and it's, go ahead.
But the cask is still sitting there, right? So isn't it still like evaporating and all that kind of stuff?
It is, but these. I
mean, what's your window? I don't know how long it takes for like things to kind of go, well, I thought it was this, and then you go to bottle it, and now it's this. So
that's the thing about whiskey, man. That window could be a month. That window could be 10 years.
Okay.
You guys have had 10-year-old whiskey that still tastes very spirit driven.
Right.
It's a little bit of a leap of faith. You make the decision and then you go for it. And then luckily, knock on wood, I can't win at bloody roulette, nor can I win a lottery ticket. But with whiskey, I do all right. With rum, I do all right too, I suppose. So go ahead.
I was going to say, so these come in at 70%.
71. One was like 71.9. One was, I think, 73. And then we brought them down to 53.6 and 51.4.
How low did you try them at?
I took them all the way. I took them down to 41 because I wanted to see what happened.
Talk about 41 versus 70. And then
41
this meets in the middle.
So 41, you get a lot more fruit. 41, it's a lot thinner on the palate. And 41, the finish becomes a lot shorter. The initial samples that were sent out to me were sent out at 40% because they thought that we were going to do like some type of larger release. And then we were like, no, we just want the casks. But at the 50s, what you get, I mean, which one do you guys want to talk about first? You want to talk about the Clarendon first?
Sure. Yeah.
So at 50, so what you get is, one is, with the Clarendon, it shows at 70, and it also shows at 60. But when you get to 50, it just kind of relaxes a little bit. And what I get from this is a massive amount of tobacco and a massive amount of menthol.
Definitely.
And
I didn't get that the first time.
Yeah. The first time, like, and at 71, you kind of don't get it as well. So here's the question, Aaron, and Angelo, is like, they're great at 71, but then you're asking the consumer to pour a glass, to dilute it to a specific area, and then to let it sit for 15 minutes. And ain't nobody got time for that, right? So at the very least, we can contribute from our end to get it to a more, like, at that 51.4% area, to where all it needs to do is just sit in the glass a little bit, to where it's like you mentioned, Aaron, not alienating people, right? Like make sure that you're like, someone's going to try 51% something and say, this tastes like burning. I'm not Ralphie from The Simpsons. I'm out. So at 51, it just shows really well.
Yeah, it really is interesting versus what I remember from 45 minutes ago when we tried this. It's elegance is a very good word. It really takes on a more sophisticated flavor profile than that first shot, which is a lot of alcohol, of course, on your first drink of the night. But still, this is much more
right. But this is
elegant.
Yeah, this was only 0.7% higher than the ImpEx Orkney.
Yeah.
So your first sip of the night was right there. It's just it needs that time to breathe. It needs that time to, and it happens over 10, 15 minutes. It happens pretty quick, but just to kind of develop in the glass, because like on the finish I get cherries, and the mid palate has that oak tannins, and it kind of coats as well.
Why don't you talk a little bit about these two distilleries, the Clarendon versus the Long Pond?
So Travis has got a great question. Any reason behind selecting Jamaican as opposed to Barbados or St. Lucia? Yeah, I could get Jamaican, Travis, and Jamaican rum is awesome. So I would love to get Guyanese rum. I would rum from Guyana. I've got nothing against St. Lucia and Barbados. We will be looking at that in the future as well. But I'm not going to lie if I said that Jamaican rum wasn't like, for me it is Jamaican rum is so unique and into itself that it just, I just love it. Like I think it's awesome. Like you don't ever pick up a Jamaican rum and mistake it for a bourbon, right?
It's that funk that you cannot walk away from. It's just very special. So you guys in your back pocket and your family of spirits, you have the folks in London. And you guys are bringing in Black Tot, and we are friends with those folks as well. And Mitch Wilson is one of those people behind that, or part of that. So did you go to those people and talk to them a little bit and say, hey, what are we looking for in rums? Did you, or is this just you and Sam?
It's just me and Sam, and we have a mutual friend who's dialed in down there, and that's how. So this was done. So I think yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it, but we have a mutual friend who's dialed in down there, and we were really looking to try to get tropical age stuff.
And I believe
that's what we were able to do.
Mitch told Angela and I about this place in, was it Denmark?
Amsterdam? EA Share?
Yeah.
In the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of the continental age stock comes from. And that is all great stock, right? But the environment in Denmark or the environment in Europe is a lot different than the environment.
It's the Netherlands, isn't it?
Or in the Netherlands, sorry. In the Netherlands is different than the environment down in Jamaica. So we really wanted something that was, it's not always possible. Like we will probably bottle some stuff from Europe as well, because that stuff is absolutely delicious. But to get some tropical age stuff was kind of cool. Because to my knowledge, there's only been a few, I don't think there's ever been one Long Pond that was released exclusively for the US that was tropical aged, a single cask. I know that there was one that came in, but I think it was split between the US and the UK that was tropical aged as a single cask. So this is kind of brand new ground, believe it or not. So it's
So you had said you have 10 casks from Jamaica? Are they all here, or are they still there?
They're all now here. So basically we bought a container of them. And, so they will be tropical aged for the 12 years, and then California aged for 2 next time. But it turns out, like I said, California is a lot more brutal than Jamaica is.
Well, you don't have the humidity, right?
You don't have the humidity, and it just evaporates out. So hopefully we'll get a bottle quick.
They stay in a warehouse, right? I would guess. They're just sitting in a warehouse somewhere?
They're at a distillery. They got to be in bond.
Oh, okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the Clarendon is, it goes by. You can get, if you ever see the label Money Musk, that's Clarendon as well. That's the distillery.
Right.
And
so kudos to you and Sam on the packaging. The bottles look great.
That is all Sam. That is all Sam. He put his blood, sweat, and a year of his life into getting that taken care of. And beautiful. It does look great. I'll tell you, we'll see if he's still listening, because I actually had a retailer call me the other day, and someone came in to grab a bottle looking for a gift. And then they ended up grabbing an ImpEx bottle because they said, yeah, this looks more like a gift. I'm taking this one. So
it's really, really nice. Well, this thing, the Clarendon, is just really special.
It develops, doesn't it? This is a $90 bottle. Like, it wasn't expensive.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, so let's talk price point. What are we talking price point on the 2 whiskeys, approximately?
I can't remember. Hold on, I'll tell you. Let's see. Did Sam chime in already?
Yep, he's all about teamwork.
Hey Sam, since you're still watching, give us the retail on the.
Ballpark.
I still think everything should cost a quarter, so I'm never the right guy to ask.
Yeah.
All right, so the Orkney is about a $190 bottle or $200 bottle. And let me make sure I got that right.
Like
yeah,
$200
for the Orkney, and then the Kalila is...
That's under $10 a year.
That's right.
The Kalila is about $120.
Now, Sam is saying that the rum is 100% you.
Well, he had to figure out. I didn't have a way to get it here or get it bottled. I burned a couple of those bridges, but no, it was us.
Sam is saying 100 to 120 for the rums.
Yeah, so the Money Musk is 90. The Long Pond, I think, the 13-year Long Pond is 100, and the 15-year is 130 or 120.
The Clarendon is actually surprisingly easy drinking.
It's very easy drinking. Yeah.
And did you mention like there's like maybe a little tobacco or something like on the back end?
Menthol and tobacco. And then on the finish you get cherries, and the mid palate you get all that oak, and you get like the unctuousness of the rum itself, right? That pot still rum. And it's just like it is good. 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 When these casks came in, I was so happy. They were way. Because remember, again, it's a leap of faith. There's always a leap of faith. Samples I got were at 40%, and I was like, but I just knew. So we went for it. And we've got one. It's a black cask. It's I guess the inside. I got it. I'll show it to you guys. Hold on, just 1 second.
You had a cask?
I still have cask samples. Yeah.
Cask sample.
If you ever make it to my non-office or to my house, it's just like. It's a landmine of just different things that are being experimented on.
You put a padlock on that room?
Man, to be honest, like my wife don't drink whiskey, and my kid, because his dad does, it is not cool. Like he's 4 and he's already figured out. I didn't even get like that 7-year grace period. I got about like 24 months before he's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna do my own thing. Hold on 1 second, I'll be right back.
How are we liking that?
You and I have talked about how we've come to appreciate rum as in the same way as whiskey, as just drinking it.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Not necessarily in a cocktail.
I mean, we've been lucky too, because we kind of like skipped over the regular stuff and just kind of went right to the top.
You're right. We were used to all the stuff that you drank in college and the stuff you get in bars, the low end stuff. But we really you're right. We went right from that.
We just skipped it. There was no Johnny Walker level. There was no, Dewar's level. We just went, Bacardi, goodbye.
Right.
Not that they make some nice age rums, I'm sure, but you don't see a lot of those.
No. Well, the rum category is just crazy. I mean, Lisa's got into, my wife has got into, oh my God, look at those. Those are just gorgeous.
I can't get it right, but can you see the difference in color or no?
Yes, we can. Yeah, 650 is the cask number on the left.
So
Whiskey and Donuts, our friend Whiskey and Donuts wants to know whether you drink this rum on ice, Chris. Any of these rums.
I drink everything on ice, except for red wine. I don't drink red wine on ice, but I will drink beer on ice.
He is so Georgian.
There was a guy when I was a kid. There was a guy.
It's
named
hot
Jose.
in Georgia, and it's humid.
It is.
It's
cold.
humid.
That's right.
It's when I was in Georgia, there was a guy named Jose who drank his beer on ice, and I remember asking my dad. I was like, nobody drinks their beer on ice, but Jose drinks his beer on ice. And my dad said, do you see anyone telling Jose not to? I was like, no. He's like, there you go.
There you go.
Anyways, this is the black cask. So this is a leaker. It's we will probably bottle this coming up, but it's if you can, it's just got all types of soot in it. It's going to be delicious. Anyways, let's talk about a Long Pond 13-year.
Yeah. This is.
Sam says it's not the Angels, it's Chris. Chris shows more of a sampling. Sam, you're going to get us audited.
Yeah.
They're going to come in and be like.
is one of our biggest listeners.
Yeah. To be honest, you can't even take a sample without everything that we take is documented somehow or another. So it's actually all, like even when we ship stuff in from other countries, we pay taxes on it. Because
that Long Pond.
If you're going to learn anything, you need to learn from Al Capone, pay your taxes.
So when we first did this flash taste of this thing an hour ago now, I thought that the funk on this thing was just out of sight, just knocked out of the park. Now it's mellowed to like this perfect level. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not battling with your tongue.
That's nice. That
And
finish.
it's a little bit mouth numbing too. Do you feel it?
A little bit, yeah.
Not so much, but it lingers though. I mean, it really lingers.
Lingering is
It's a
great.
little drying, and then you get a lot of some clove, and you get like burnt sugar, and all
I think
kinds
you're
of fun
getting those
stuff.
mangoes, those dried, weird tropical fruits. It's.
I also get Elmer's
Boy.
paste. I
You
do.
can't say. Go ahead.
No, I get Elmer's paste from it.
Oh, you know what? I think I got some
shouldn't have
glue
been
here.
eating that stuff in elementary school, like all of us did.
School lunch was small.
Elmer's, glue, and paper. That was lunch, and a little bottle of milk.
So now,
Or a
you
little
mean on the
container.
nose or on the
Temper
palate?
paint. Elmer's glue and temper paint.
Now I gotta smell it.
Just a little bit on the nose.
Okay, now I gotta smell it.
Yeah, there's a little bit, definitely some glue.
I mean, I always like the smell of Elmer's.
Yep.
It's always a good one. Do you remember
There is that.
Going back to grade school? Do you remember this one like pasty glue that came in a little tub and had a stick and it was like menthol?
Elmer's.
That was Elmer's.
That was Elmer's?
We held
You know,
yeah.
you remember that smell because you'd end up
I
like
do.
you'd do something and it'd be all over you somehow because
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
It was like honey. It was you could not get it anywhere else. You got it everywhere, but you did where you didn't want it to be.
It also it just smells like, to me, this reminds me of art class when I was in elementary school or
Trying to
crafts.
get out of it.
But
this is just
yeah. So Long Pond. Let's look it up real quick. There's no harm in Googling during a live stream, is there?
No,
Anyone else
absolutely
doing it?
not.
not at all. We do it all the time.
Let's look at Long Pond fire. So Long Pond had a fire, and it was damaged in, I want to say 2018, and they had to rebuild it. So it was shut down for a few years.
Did that mess anything? I mean, did it ruin the stills or?
I don't know what it did to it, but I know that it is. Here we go. They kind of rebuilt a chunk of it. So these are all pre-fire Long Ponds.
Okay.
And, they lost 65,000 liters of booze
Wow.
when it happened.
How long did that burn?
Probably a while.
Burned for a while, I would think.
So I don't think it affected it too much because the muck pits were not affected. So
Okay.
those were intact, and that's a really important That's a really important part of keeping your releases or your distillation same year in and year out. But they lost 10 4,000-gallon copper rum storage tanks, and they lost 72 wooden vats. So their vats had to be redone, and then they lost 65,000 liters of booze.
Wow.
But
That's amazing.
But Long Pond's kind of one of those where it has a little bit of a higher ester count, and
Where's the funk? That's the funk.
yeah, and the thing is, like, if you try this is a 13-year we're drinking. If you try the 15-year, it's night and day different. And it's like that because it's different. This is ITP is the level of esters is ITP, and the other ones, the 15 years, are the VRWs.
What does that mean?
What's the difference?
Well, again, I got to
Is that a grading or?
I'm
so
all
more esters.
mouth. It's it's ester levels.
So on the which one has more ester levels between the two?
So there's a
13
rum
by
blog.
15.
There's a rum blog called the Cocktail Wonk. It's
So
Matt
wonk,
Petrie.
yeah.
And
Yep.
he's probably the most brilliant guy in rum that there is, and he gives all the information on this. And basically, it's an ester flavor mark is the difference between them. And ITP is 90 to 120 G/HLAA, whatever that means, and then VRW is 150 to 250, so it's higher ester count.
Is that like ppms on a peated scotch? Is that the same kind of thing, or Scoville on a
Something
pepper?
like that. It would sound like.
It's kind of the same, but I'm still not quite clear on. So to be honest, my rum knowledge is infinitesimal versus what I've done in whiskey. But my understanding is like esters. A lot of people try to rate things by esters, but it's not a consistent scale because it can just change. Like, not only can it change, it changes in maturation, and the way that it's distilled, the different ester counts it means one thing or it means another, but it's not always consistent in what it does. So really it's not the best gauge by which to decide whether or not something's going to be good. It's more of house style or go ahead.
I sort of see the funk level like peat. So I know not all rums have a funkiness to them, and maybe Long Pond would be fall into like Lefroy on the peat level, for instance. And I wonder if the longer something ages on a rum, a funky rum, does that funk go away over time, or does it never change?
I've had some older Jamaican rums that are pretty funky. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So when you did this,
here's the deal: it's like there's two different types of esters too. So you have like one type of ester that goes down with aging, and another type of ester that goes up. So again, I don't know, man. That's all vocabulary. To be honest, it's all vocabulary is beyond me, right? Like, I wish I could present myself as more as an expert on it, but it's more of I come with rum. I'm more of an enthusiast at this point.
I think that's probably true of the new rum drinker that's come about in the last few years. We were just, when you walked away, we were talking how Angela and I have come to appreciate this new rum world that's come about. And hi, Michael. Michael's asking which one we enjoyed more. I have to say I like the Long Pond more because I like funk.
Yeah, I like it. It's a little punchier. The Clarendon's great. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I think it's a little more subtle.
The Long Pond's got the longer ester chains, and the Clarendon's got this.
Whatever that means.
I'm sorry, I meant the Clarendon's a little bit more subtle, is what I meant to say.
Yes, for all you chemistry nerds.
The Long Pond has that, just a little more punchy, and it's got a little more like a spicy sweetness on the back end that I liked.
Yeah,
it's just a bigger whiskey, a bigger rum. I mean,
the way that I say it is, if you ever here's the redneck. If you ever dipped or chewed tobacco, you're going to like the Clarendon more. Especially if you quit.
That mentholish.
Yeah, the menthol tobacco aspect.
Sure.
Because that never leaves you, right? So.
My wife got into making tiki cocktails a couple years ago. And I got her Smuggler's Cove recipe book, right? Which is kind of like the Bible of cocktails in the tiki world. And I thought I might know a little bit, a hair about rum. And the list of categories of rums in that book is insane. I had no idea that there were all these different, forget countries, just single pot, whatever all the categories are, the clear rums. It was just mind-blowing. And they're all different. And you pretty much need one of every category to make everything in the book. So we have like one of every category in our liquor cabinet.
But think about it. That kind of makes sense, right? Because historically speaking, now it's different, of course. But if you look back 15, 20 years, you talked about 4 countries as far as whiskey were concerned. You talked about Japan, Scotland, America, and Canada, right? For whiskey. With rum, you talk about entire swaths of the planet.
Yeah.
You talk about the Caribbean. You talk about the South Pacific. It's all over the place.
Plus different methods of production.
Yeah, South America.
And it's crazy how many different styles there are, but it's all sugar based, right? It's all molasses or sugar cane, right? In one way or another. So yeah, I think you can do sugar beets too. You can make rum from sugar beets. Anything that's just considered. But whereas whiskeys come all kinds of different grains. It's really fascinating category. It's just that it's so many places to go with it. And I don't mean just countries. There are so many different styles. I
never even thought about the South Pacific until we had the rum and cane.
Yeah. That's right. The rum and cane guys.
I didn't even think of it. I just associated with the Caribbean, and that was it.
But they got sugar cane, so they're going to make rum.
Right.
Sure. Boy, and there's just so many different styles, and it's a little bit mind-boggling. We thought we learned whiskey, right, Angela? We thought we learned Scotch, and all of a sudden there's this rum category that is it's just rum. Rum is rum. Well, apparently not. That's not true. Rum is not rum. So, Chris, when you did the 70 down to what 40 or so with the long pond, do you remember what the differences were?
Yeah, I do. So with the Clarendon, it kind of fell apart, right? So it just became flat. With the long pond, a lot of the fruit showed up. A lot more fruit showed up, and then it just became thinner, if that makes sense. It just didn't quite have the same type of depth of character.
And
It was still great. It's just a lot more fruity and easygoing and fun.
what are you doing? What's the process when you're proofing down? Are you just trying to do a couple points, 5
No,
points?
so I'll jump. So like golly days, I can't ever get this part right. So this is my right hand. Okay, because it's mirrored, guys, or it's not mirrored, and that's the problem. It's
That's the problem. It's not mirrored. Yes.
Yeah. So you have your cask strength, and then you'll go to like a midpoint, and then I'll go all the way down, and I'll see where it is that fits, and then those will be measured, and then I'll start blending those together to see, like, that's how you add a little bit more, you add a little bit less, and then you take a break, and then when you figure out kind of where you are, you'll put it at around there, like plus two, minus two, and then you'll let it sit for a couple days and make sure it's integrated with the water, like the reverse osmosis water, and then you come back to it on a fresh palate. I tend to do best at like 8 to 10 in the morning, depending on what's going on, but before any coffee's been made in the house. And then you try it again, and then I'll try it at night with coffee. Like it's scatterbrained and it's all over the place. But when it's consistent, like when it's consistently good across, like after dinner, at breakfast, late at night, when I'm in a bad mood, when I'm in a good mood, when it's consistent as far as like that's the happy medium, then that's when you're ready. Because you'll have something that you'll absolutely love, and then you might eat something different the next day, and it's going to completely throw it off. And you can't, those are all real variables in the world. When someone's going to try something that you're bottling, it's going to affect how they view what you bottle. And remember that we want to be inclusive of everyone. We want everyone to be able to enjoy this, at least one of these in their own way. And so you just got to make sure that you find that happy medium.
So we talked Scotch and we've talked rum. Do you guys have any American whiskeys or other spirits down the road that you're looking to bring in single casks of?
We have committed to some mezcal batches.
Ooh.
and that is being worked on as we speak. It's a little bit of a dry goods era, or dry goods complication. And
what does that mean?
It just means like you've got to get the branding right, and you got to get the glass. And right now, post-pandemic, dry goods is a pain in the ass for everyone. To give you an idea, like Glenfiddich, I think, had a shortage of dry goods at one point in the last 12 months. Glenfiddich had a shortage because they just couldn't get it to them. So the pandemic across the globe and across so many different facets of so many different industries has thrown everything into chaos. Even
when you say dry goods, you mean the barley?
I mean, labels, bottles, enclosures, seals.
Okay, I got you.
Boxes. You got to have all of it if it's good. Anyways, but we committed to some mezcal stock. We own some Japanese casks that are 17 years old that are bottled. And they will be shipped in. When we release them is yet to be determined. And then we have some other casks in Japan that we're looking at as well. We are definitely up for procuring some more rum casks. Again, a little bit of a dry goods issue there. So yeah, we're going to have as much fun with it as we can, and so long as it fits the ethos of the brand, and that is that it's just absolutely excellent. Because Sam ain't going to let me bottle no crap.
Where can folks that are tuning in here find some of this stuff?
You can, well, not in my warehouse.
Let's start with
it's all gone.
Yeah. Like, give me a couple of retailers in LA, maybe a couple in on the East Coast.
High Times, Wally's, Mission, they all got some. Everson Royce got some. The Mixing Glass got some. The Benny's got some. I think a chunk of it just went into like Pennsylvania, well, not Pennsylvania, but Delaware and Virginia and Pennsylvania, those areas. Jared's Market, all of that's hitting over there. So I don't know what retailers are over there. Boston will get some. Like it's pretty well represented out in the country, it's, again, when it's 300 bottles, it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, I was going to say the allocation. How do you determine what goes where? Just whatever people order.
The whiskey shop in San Francisco got some. So Sam handles all that because Sam is much more scary than I am. So when he sends it out, no one goes, "Hey man, how come I didn't get more?"
Take 2 cases.
Go, yes. And plus,
Paul Marco
if I handled it and someone called me and said, "Why didn't I get more?" I'd have been like, I ain't got no time for that nonsense. Yeah, I think so, Paul. I think it's
I thought about that because you have to go
or,
through the state,
or it's going to be close, like in Delaware. So just keep an eye out.
Yeah,
because you have to get it through the state. So I don't know how they work.
You can special order it, and then if the distributor has it, they'll send it.
Right. PA's weird.
You want to know?
Well, there's only one good thing about PA. Well, the best part about it is that no matter where you are in the state, the price is the same. So that's the upside. The downside is you don't have the selection, and trying to find things still gets a little difficult. So, you take the good and you take the bad with the control systems, with the control states.
Paul,
that's the beautiful thing about California. We don't have that issue.
What Paul should do is go to impexbev.com and reach out to us through the website. We'll connect you with our rep that's over there, and he'll help you. He'll guide you to where it is closest to you. And again, keep in mind, I'm saying this from a very narrow perspective of a boy who was raised in the Southeast and now lives on the West Coast. Every time I look at a map in grade school, all them states look really small to me, so I assume that everything's like a few minutes from each other. Whereas in California, like San Diego is the same distance as in Georgia, I could be in North Carolina. Well, that's not true. I'd be in Tennessee, but anyways. But Paul, we'll try to get you dialed in for sure.
So Chris, we have? These were 4 great things. We have thank Sam and Chris for supplying the
these
wonderful ImpEx Collection samples. Obviously there's more. Why don't you throw a couple names out that you really liked of the other ones? I know you like them all, but is there any other babies in there that are?
I was really so the M&H was one I didn't try ahead of time, and when I tried it, I really loved it. Like
that one fascinates me too.
Yeah, and M&H is one. You know what? I got a little mini of that here, so I'm gonna have some. The M&H they kind of have a house style with that green apple finish to them.
Yep.
And that is just what they do. And here we go. And they just make good stuff, man.
They do.
So I liked it a lot. I like the Glen Elgin a lot. I haven't tried the Springbank since we chose it. However many years ago we chose it. So that one I'm going to try maybe this weekend. But
so how hard was it getting the Springbank?
That was all Sam. Sam called me and said, "We're buying a cask of Springbank," and I said, "Cool."
Did he make him an offer they couldn't refuse?
So Springbank doesn't do IB, he says, right? So how does that happen? Well, you don't have to tell us.
So I can tell you because
we want to know.
The Springbank used to sell casks to just random people. You could go buy a cask or two of Springbank, and so there was a guy who owned a cask of Springbank, and he wanted some of it bottled for his friends. He didn't need all of it, so we did X amount of it under a label for him, and then we kept the remainder of the cask, and that's how it came about. So
and Joshua Hatton hates you for it, I'm sure.
No, I didn't.
Joshua Hatton has been trying to get a Springbank cask for his single cask nation company for so long.
Joshua gets plenty of awesome casks.
He does.
Like yes. he can't, with as many awesome casks as he's released, he ain't got no room to complain. The other one I really like, so the M&H I really like because it didn't have that same green apple thing. It was more of like a very rich honey finish to it, and it even had like the even lightest bit of vinegar, if that makes sense. So it had like the savory quality to it. But the other one I really loved was the 40-year blend. It is by far and away one of the most balanced sherry whiskeys that I've drank in a while. And I've drank like that was the one where I think Aaron, you were there, man. We went over to Marshall's. It was the first. Everyone was vaccinated, and so we all got together.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, you brought the Clarendon, I believe, at that one too, right?
I brought the Clarendon to that, and I brought the 40-year blend to it.
Yes.
And it was just the 40-year blend.
What's the story behind it? What's the story on that? If you,
it's rumored to be an old Edmonton blend, so whatever they would have been putting in blends back then, but blended and matured in sherry for 40 years. And look, Sam, you see Sam put Joshua love this. So Joshua got to try the Springbank in the bottle before I did. This is sack. Oh hell no! I guess I'll try it in a little bit. But when we tried it, it was just awesome, and it was bottled not too long after, so it should still be awesome. But the 40-year blend was the one like I walked away. Now it's not. Remember, it's a lower ABV, that one, but it's nice because it has it doesn't have any of the heavy oak, if that makes sense. Like a lot of sherry cask whiskeys now have this char from the oak that goes with the sherry. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It's a little bit of a bitter quality. Yep. This doesn't have any of that. It's just all old school sherry, which again is something that is what I fell in love with whiskey about. And I don't see it that often anymore. Usually you see like this heavier aspect with sherry nowadays. It's just a different type of sherry. And that one's the old school style.
So how long has the collection been out on the market?
Oh man, it's been,
a couple months?
Not even, if that makes sense. Just a couple of months.
And the response so far has been good?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, we're sold out, so that's great. Hopefully awesome. The people that purchase it from us are selling out pretty quickly as well. You know, again, like from a personal point of view, I've already bought at retail 4 bottles, and I'm trying to go buy more. Except for, it's tough. It's tough because I got a lot of bottles, and I'm not supposed to be buying bottles anymore. But I'm probably going to go buy some more bottles simply because I have bottles for my collection, right? And then I'm buying other bottles at retail to just drink because I'm finding them fun to take. Just like I did when I saw Angelo, you got to come to LA, man, and when all this madness is over, we're gonna.
Yeah, I'm due to come back. I gotta, it's been a while.
We're gonna have you go bananas. You just come over and get a bunch of milk thistle and like hydrate for like 3 weeks ahead of time and drink a whole bunch, and then over like 3 or 4 nights, we'll take you to different places and have a good time.
All right, sign me up.
What's next on the list of things that are coming out? What's on the next version 2.0?
Yeah,
how much more stuff is in the pipeline? This is batch 1 basically, right?
Yeah, this is batch 1. So you'll see another round. Again, we do have I've got when we bought the Clarendons, we got 3 Clarendons, 3 12-year long ponds that are now 13, and 4 14-year long ponds. So you'll definitely see another sequence of rums that'll come through. You're going to see a Penderyn that's going to come through. You'll see the 17-year-old Japanese stuff come through. And then after that, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to you'll have an expansion of the pie.
With the age statement, you go up to the bottling, right? So if you held on to it for like a year, 2 years, if you bought a 12-year, then you'd bottle it at a 13 or a 14, whatever it is.
When it comes out of the cask, it stops. We stop putting age.
That's when the age statement's established, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
However, with the mezcals, we will put the vintages that they were bottled on.
Okay.
On the mezcals, because mezcal continues to develop in glass, like whiskey does too, but no one ever really celebrates it or talks about it. But with mezcal will continuously develop in glass in a great way. So like in my mezcal collection, you know, I've got stuff from like 2004, stuff from 1998, and those are all fun things that I'll get to ideally at one point in time in my life with the ImpEx Collection. Mezcals will definitely put that on there so that people can enjoy one now, sell one, and enjoy it in 10 years. Because that industry, I see that industry as being one that's going to continue to grow and develop in interesting ways. So
with the mezcal, are you working through a broker, or can you go directly to the distillery? Is it the same kind of deal?
So it'll be both, working directly with a palenque or a taverna, and then also working through people who are working with them. So not necessarily a broker, but maybe another import agent who has their products, but then at the same time, because remember, like the rising tide carries all ships. Anything we bottle, we want to be respectful to the people who made it and to the brand that it represents. So we don't want to take sales away from anybody. We want to raise awareness as to how good that producer is for everyone. So yeah, if that makes sense.
Yep, totally.
Oh, as a little teaser, we tried the Mal de Amor during a podcast episode. So I'm still editing, so that'll be out, and hopefully
it's coming out soon. Yes,
within the week. Hopefully it'll be out. But that was fun. That was fun. Aaron's a bad man. Thanks to Aaron, I've been exposed to a good bit of rum and a lot of mezcal, and I like it.
I think
And it's
they're
fun.
really fun categories. I think that sometimes the Scotch world and even a little bit of the bourbon world, American whiskey, gets a little stodgy.
Yeah.
And I think the rum and mezcal places are they're fun. They're maybe because they're new, but they're fun and they're different. I took a bottle of I don't remember the name of it, a mezcal to a party on Saturday night, and it was like the hit of the evening. It just was fun and it was unique, and the bottle and the amount of transparency with mezcals is just amazing. You know, it's like reading a book on a bottle. It's just, and I have no idea what it all means, but it's really cool. I have no idea. But you look at a bottle of scotch and there's like no information except pretty little, designs and things. 12. That's about the only thing I could recognize. 12 in a word I can't pronounce.
Well, mezcal's in the education stage, right? Because everyone's like, why should I even be drinking this? Here's why.
Yes.
Because it's really good.
It is really good. And it's
well, and I've come to appreciate mezcal in cocktails. I really like a mezcal old fashioned, and mezcal cocktails in general. They just are. Jason from Single Cast Nation told me years ago, if you like Scotch, you're gonna like mezcal. I never understood it. I'm not sure that I understand the connection between the two, aside from a little bit of smoke, because I think they're two different animals. But I think because of Jason, I probably put my and their couple of releases that they had, put my finger into the water a little bit with those guys, and I really like mezcal. I don't know why, but it's good. I like it. Yeah, I'm excited for you guys with all that you guys are experimenting with.
I think it's going to be. We'll see when they come out, but I think we have some
good.
pretty cool things on the way. To be honest.
Well, Chris, we've kept you probably long enough. You got a 4-year-old running around who probably needs a bath and dinner and all that stuff, right? So we want to thank you and Sam Filmus from ImpEx Beverages for providing these samples and spending some time with us. And we wish you lots of luck on this whole ImpEx Collection single cast series that is just hitting the market now.
Thank you both. And then Angelo, get out to LA, yeah?
I'd like to. I gotta get through some college tours with my eldest, so that's where I'm at in this process.
Chris is a long ways from that. Long ways from that.
And Aaron's hopefully
Start
done with all
saving.
that. Yeah,
I'm hoping by the time mine goes
wow.
to college, they've realized like everyone's just going to learn online and college is going to be done, so I
That's
don't have
right.
to pay
College
that.
will be. Yes.
Yeah,
There goes the
give
whiskey
that,
collection.
Hey, can you give
Yeah,
that message
that's
upstairs? I'm fine with it.
That's right.
So, Chris, if you can hang out for a second, we're just going to do a quick exit, and then we'll close this out.
Yep. Thank you,
All right.
everyone.
Here's
for
everyone.
for
Yeah.
All right.
dropping in and saying hi and comments. We loved y'all. And search out. Hey, there's Elijah. Great. These are really great whiskeys and rums, and I really think it'd be fun to try some of these. So hop to your local retailer and see if you can find it, or hop on the ImpEx website and see where you can get it from. I'm sure they'll help you out looking for that stuff.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you guys. Cheers.
All right.
And have a great evening.
Should I let me run the credits?
We got some end credits, and we'll see you guys
All
next
right.
time.
Cheers, folks.
Cheers.